On October 1st, about a dozen members of the Sedona community demonstrated on the steps of the Capitol down in Phoenix, and about twice that number demonstrated at City Hall in West Sedona to oppose the Arizona Department of Transportation's plan to install 76 streetlights in West Sedona.
I moved from the Phoenix area in 2002 to get away from the bad air, the traffic, the heat, to come to a quiet community with dark skies and other amenities. And a threat to the dark skies troubles me. I think 79 traffic lights on 89A would affect that. So I want my voice to be heard, and I think we should leave it the way it is. Maybe put a traffic light at a Dante, but don't make 89A Broadway, please. That's why I'm here.
I live right there in West Sedona. We do, and on Dante, yes, we could use a few more lights, but not 76, my goodness. I would think you'd see us from space with that many lights in this little area.
We believe, and we believe that many of you do, that the continuous roadway lighting is excessive and not necessary. We felt that our next best area for gaining attention was going to be with ADOT and with the governor and the legislature, because it is a state agency and they are taking $1.8 million worth of federal funds to put up the lights, and we would like them to take that $1.8 million and put it in another city that might require some other lighting. And we were down there this morning. A couple of carloads went down. We did have a press conference at about 10:30. The Arizona Republic was there, as well as public radio station. And we had the Speaker of the House came out and joined us, as well as our own representative, Lucy Mason. And they were very understanding of what we are trying to do. And we will continue to follow up with them. We've requested a meeting with the governor. We've requested a meeting with ADOT, because we feel that the community needs to be heard. And our purpose here today really is to have the community be heard, to once again let council and the mayor know that the community is not in favor of continuous roadway lighting.
The reality is that, number one, ADOT owns the road. The reality is that the City Council, or the majority of the City Council, has voted to install continuous roadway lighting on 89A.
Mayor, I have a question. Who has the final say, ADOT or Sedona, or is it a joint decision ultimately?
Well, legally ADOT has the final decision. I think that ADOT would like this decision to be a partnership with Sedona. I believe that that desire is there. And, you know, quite frankly, in ADOT's defense, they have worked with us, as evidenced by the 89A coming into town, 179. It's been a tough, contentious process in all of these cases. ADOT is moving forward with a lighting plan, and I believe that they're going to offer a palette of alternatives, but all of them will include continuous roadway lighting. You need to know that. That is reality.
When government starts saying that they have the right and the people, I mean, that's like telling the people that you don't have any rights. Okay, wrong. It's like, how do you say in the movie, they said government should be afraid of the people. The people should not be afraid of government.
So what I'm asking you is to consider the possibility that there may be a lighting solution. And I think that we need to start immediately in investigating if that solution exists, and if it's something that we can all live with.
He's not the guy to handle this issue if he thinks there's compromise. There is no compromise on the lights.
Folks, there is no compromise here. What are you talking about?
We have to start back here, not with the compromise that says, well, we're going to get lights anyway, let's make them good. No, that's a bad compromise for Sedona.
This is about safety. This is not about lights. One way this can be stopped dead in its tracks, and that's the governor. ADOT is an executive agency. The head of ADOT is appointed by the governor. If the governor calls the head of ADOT and says, what are you doing in Sedona? You're going to destroy the environment.
This is the most divisive thing I've ever seen happen to this city. And having people not willing to approach the table is the worst thing about this whole process.
On August 13th, Mayor Adams was in the minority of a 4-2 6-2 vote that put the 76 lights back on the table. Mr. Adams fielded some tough questions from members of the audience.
So yes, we're dealing with ADOT, but the council is supposed to be representing us.
Yes.
Thank you.
What does that solve? What does that solve? Let's talk about solutions.
Well, but when you're saying the reality is the council has advised this and working with ADOT, and that does influence ADOT. So part of what I'm saying and solving is the council should be working with us. What happened at the meeting in August was not the council working with us. It was a panicked response. We were suddenly talking about the dollars versus the safety, which was the first issue. It was totally flipped.
I don't really want to go there because, it is what it is right now, and that's what I'm trying to deal with.
Right, and we're trying to change what is right now, which is back to part of council listening.
And I honor your right to do that.
Yes.
But again, I'm saying look forward a little bit further. Let's look forward in terms of what are we eventually going to have out there as a corridor? What do we need to consider? And I'm asking you to look forward in terms of a fairly short-term view in terms of what's coming down the pike. And that pike is ADOT's going to offer a palette of lighting solutions which may or may not work for us. And I'm suggesting to you work with us to come up with alternatives that ADOT may not be recommending.
Mr. Adams had to leave the meeting to attend a city business, and after he left, the protesters continued discussing their strategies, including whether or not the city council ought to put the lights issue to a public vote.
Why not just go to the council and say this is a contentious issue? You actually believe the reason that you're not together is driving the city apart, which is the absolute inverse. So why don't you just vote on it? Why don't we just vote on it?
I'll tell you why. Here's my opinion why. Because safety should not be put to a vote.
It's not an issue of safety. It's
It is an issue of safety.
No, it's an issue of the lights.
It's not. It's an issue of safety. As long as we continue arguing about lights, it will be an issue about lights.
But wouldn't that put the issue to bed?
However, keep in mind that Samantha Ruckman did attempt to do a referendum on the lights to put it to a vote, and the attorney of Sedona tossed it out. She had almost 800 signatures. You only needed 397 or something. It was tossed out on some technicality.
City Attorney Mike Gamerick found substantial flaws in the petitions filed by Dr. Samantha Ruckman, even though she was provided a packet of information on how to do it correctly.
But if we ask somebody to put that on the agenda, to make a motion to second it, and if the council says, no, we're not going to do that, then we've exposed more of that special interest on the other side.
Okay.
And they're just going to vote and say, no, we're not going to let the public have an opinion on this.
Then why don't we say that that is a result of today's meeting, that we're going to request the council consider this? Why don't we submit that to them?
And just say, and then let them say, it's overt,
let them turn it down.
and they can say, no, we don't want this citizenry to have an opinion about this. And even though the issue with Sam's referendum was it wasn't technically a legislative act that they did. It was just a recommendation. But just as a sentiment, and I mean, what would be wrong with that? And let them just say, no, I don't really care what the...
We should do that as a result of today. Beautiful IDA and the Sierra Club have sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation telling them that since this is a federally funded grant for lights that we believe are going to degrade the environment, that they need to do a NEPA study. And so we have requested their consideration for a NEPA study because it is federally funded. And when you expect that something is going to have environmental impacts, they are supposed to do a NEPA study. And so we have requested that. We also believe that somewhere along the line there may have been violations of open meeting laws between council members and stuff, and we have sent a letter to the Attorney General's Office of Arizona asking them to check this out, and they are doing that right now. They've already contacted us to let us know that they are in the process of exploring whether or not there were violations of open meeting laws as it relates to this, because we think there are some technicalities that were not properly handled.